Some bikes roll into the shop and the mechanic just sighs before they even touch the throttle body. It isn't because the job is hard, but because they have seen this exact bike 3 times this month and the owner has no idea what they actually bought. Let's dive in, because this list covers 13 of those bikes. We're looking at modern machines, mostly from the last decade, with real failure patterns, high labor costs, and design decisions that probably should have stayed on the drawing board. These aren't just opinions, since the evidence lives in the service bulletins, the forum threads, and the repair invoices. Stay with me, because the last bike on this list looks bulletproof on paper while hiding the most expensive flaw in its entire segment. Bikes 1 to 4, the premium tax nightmares. Kicking off the list is the BMW R1250 GS water-cooled. The GS is the best-selling adventure bike on the planet, and that reputation does a lot of heavy lifting for the BMW service department. What the brochure doesn't mention is the shift cam variable valve timing system. When it works, the system is genuinely clever, but when it fails, you are looking at full head removal or case splitting just to reach the problem. Labor alone on that job runs $1,500 or more at a dealer before a single part gets ordered. Parts for the water-cooled GS are expensive across the board, and dealer wait times can stretch to several weeks because the supply chain isn't set up for volume failures. The older air-cooled hex head had its own issues, but a stator swap on that bike was a driveway job that took an hour with basic tools. On the water-cooled R1250, a stator failure means splitting the engine cases, which is a fundamentally different conversation that most owners don't have until the bill is already written. Next up, we have the KTM 790, an 890 Duke and Adventure. KTM markets these as precision instruments, and they feel like it on fresh pavement. But the real problem lives inside the engine. Premature camshaft wear has destroyed motors well under 20,000 miles. And this is documented across dealer service bulletins and owner communities on multiple continents. The counterbalancer bearing failures are even worse, because when those let go, the damage is catastrophic and happens fast. The deeper issue is how KTM structures service intervals, since some components are measured in hours of operation instead of miles. Most street riders have no frame of reference for that, so they buy the bike and ride it like a normal street machine. They skip a service because nothing feels wrong, only to find out the hard way that nothing felt wrong is not the same as nothing was wrong. Moving on to the Ducati Multistrada 5.4. This bike is genuinely impressive technology, but it is also a machine where the valve service alone costs a minimum of $1,000 at a dealer. That number often climbs to $1,500 or $2,000 once shim replacements get factored in, and that service comes due every 15,000 miles. Desmodromic valve systems have no spring return, which means each of the 16 valves on this V4 gets manually adjusted by hand, with specialized tooling that most independent shops don't own. When the service is due, you're going to a dealer whether you want to or not. The electronics are impressive right up until one module drops out and sends the bike into limp mode. The diagnostic path is never clean, and some riders have reported sitting at dealers for days while technicians work through the fault tree. Did you know the Triumph Tiger 900 looks like the sensible choice in this segment? It has 3 cylinders, manageable weight, and a reasonable price, but the idle air control stepper motor doesn't care about any of that. It clogs with fine dust and trail debris, and when it does, the bike won't idle correctly, which means it won't run correctly. Riders have been stranded in remote areas because of this specific failure, and the T-shaped throttle body layout creates uneven fueling across the 3 cylinders under hard acceleration. This design decision produces a problem you will feel long before you can diagnose it. These 4 bikes share one thing. The engineering looks impressive in a brochure, but it punishes you the moment something goes wrong. The next group is more dangerous because they hide behind a reputation for reliability that the ownership data doesn't always support. Bikes 5 to 9, the reliable reputation traps. Kicking off the list is the Kawasaki Versys 1000. The Versys 1000 sells you on the promise of do-everything practicality, and for a while, it actually delivers on that. Then the throttle-by-wire system starts acting up. Later models develop a documented hesitation glitch at low RPM that produces dangerous surging in slow traffic, which is exactly the speed range where a touring bike spends a lot of its life. This isn't just a tuning preference because riders have reported the bike lurching unpredictably in parking lots and city intersections. The radiator sits low and forward on the chassis, which looks clean until you take the bike anywhere near gravel. Stone strikes that would bounce off a more protected setup punch straight into the core. Next up is the brake master cylinder, where the internals corrode faster than they should on a bike built for long-distance use. For a machine marketed as a serious touring option, the corrosion timeline on that component doesn't match the pitch. Next up is the Yamaha Tenere 700. The T7 has a passionate owner community, and the CP2 engine is genuinely well built. But there are real ownership problems that don't make it into the launch coverage, and the stock fuel range on a good day sits around 230 miles. For a bike designed around remote adventure riding, that forces constant planning and real anxiety on longer routes where fuel stops aren't guaranteed. The single balancer shaft design means wear-induced imbalance transfers directly into the handlebar and foot pegs, which you'll feel long before any warning light appears. More seriously, early production models had a fuel pump failure that cut the engine dead at highway speed with no warning at all. Yamaha addressed it, but the bikes are still out there, and used buyers rarely know to check. Moving on to the Honda CBR 650R. The CBR 650R needs to spin to 12,000 RPM before it produces power. You'd actually call usable. That's not a criticism of the engine design on its own terms, but it has consequences. Valve clearance checks come due faster than on a lower revving motor, and accessing the cam cover requires pulling the full fairing. That's a multi-hour labor job before a single measurement gets taken. The factory suspension is calibrated for a rider well under 170 pounds. Anyone heavier than that will feel the fork dive hard under braking, and the rear unit skipping over rough pavement. It's not a safety crisis, but it's a serious comfort and confidence problem on a bike people often buy for daily use. High mileage examples also show heat warping on the right side fairing where exhaust temperatures push into the plastic. Next up is the Suzuki GSX-S 1000. The throttle mapping in the lower riding modes is notoriously abrupt and difficult to smooth out without a tune. That makes low-speed maneuvering genuinely unpleasant. On cold starts, the clutch basket produces a noise that sounds expensive and wrong. It's a documented characteristic, not an indication of imminent failure, but it sends owners straight to dealers convinced something's broken. Aftermarket parts support is thinner than you'd expect compared to similar displacement competitors. So when something actually does need replacing, the weight compounds the frustration. Moving on to the Honda Africa Twin CRF 1100L. The standard Africa Twin is a competent machine. The DCT version introduces a hydraulic actuator system that works well until it doesn't, and when it fails, the repair bill opens at $2,000. There's no easy workaround, and no independent shop shortcut because the system requires dealer-level tooling. Load the bike up with full panniers, and the weight distribution pushes toward understeer on tight switchbacks, which is an odd characteristic for a bike designed to handle varied terrain. Every bike in this group sold on reputation or specs, but the real ownership experience is something dealers don't put in the brochure. 4 bikes left, and these are the ones mechanics dread most. Bikes 10 to 13. The ones mechanics dread most. Kicking off this section is the Harley-Davidson Pan America 1250. Nobody expected Harley to build a legitimate adventure bike, and the Pan America genuinely surprised people when it launched. The Revolution Max engine is real engineering, not a badge exercise, but the variable valve timing system built into that engine is a first-generation design and first-generation VVIT on a platform nobody has years of field data on. means documented oil pressure sensitivity issues that the dealer network is still learning to diagnose correctly. When the system misbehaves, there's no clean fix and no cheap one. The thermal management is a separate problem. The radiator fan placement pulls hot air directly across the rider's legs in slow traffic, which isn't a minor inconvenience on a 500-pound bike in August. It's a design decision that points to real compromises in how the cooling system was packaged. Harley's dealer labor rates sit among the highest in the industry, so every hour of diagnostic time on a VVT fault costs more than it would anywhere else. And this system is not something you work through at home on a Saturday afternoon. Next up is the BMW S1000XR. The S1000XR starts life as a racing engine dropped into a sport touring chassis, and that origin story follows it everywhere. Valve service intervals arrive faster than most touring riders expect, and the labor bill when they do is not gentle. The dynamic damping control suspension is genuinely impressive when it works. When the DDC module fails, the bike's handling character changes in ways you feel immediately. And the module replacement cost is high enough that some owners have just left the system disconnected. What makes the S1000XR particularly frustrating to work on is the wiring. The harness routing behind the fairing is dense enough that tracing a single electrical fault can turn into a half-day job before a wrench touches anything. Shops bill by the hour. That wiring architecture means diagnostic time alone adds up in ways that catch owners completely off guard. Moving on to the Aprilia Tuono V4. The Tuono V4 sounds extraordinary and goes like almost nothing else at the price point. The valve train is the tax you pay for that. It requires specialized Aprilia tooling that most independent shops don't have and won't invest in for a low-volume model. That locks every owner into dealer pricing for any valve-related work, with no competitive alternatives keeping those costs in check. The RSV4 derived engine runs at the edge of its cooling capacity in slow urban traffic, which is a real problem for a bike people often ride in cities. Parts availability compounds everything. Outside major metro areas, some components ship directly from Italy with lead time stretching 6 to 8 weeks. Your bike is down waiting for a part, it's down for a long time. Next up is the KTM 1290 Super Adventure. This is the one. The 1290 Super Adventure looks like the complete package, with big power, sophisticated electronics, and serious off-road capability. The WP suspension electronics have a documented failure mode where the system locks into full hard damping with no manual override. On a heavy adventure bike, that transforms the ride quality immediately and makes rough terrain genuinely unpleasant to cover. There's no rider workaround while the system is in that state. Fuel pump failures on early models were widespread enough that KTM issued a service bulletin, not a recall. A bulletin. That distinction matters because it shifts the responsibility toward owners who may not know the bulletin exists. Engine heat and slow traffic is severe enough that some owners have found paint discoloration on the right side frame rail, which tells you exactly how much thermal energy this engine generates when it has nowhere to push it. So there you have it. Let me know in the comments if you've dealt with any of these issues yourself. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more, and we'll see you in the next one. In conclusion, complexity without reliability is just an expensive hobby with good marketing, so for ADV riding, you should probably avoid the KTM 1290 and the Pan America. If you prefer sport touring, the S1000XR and Tuono are going to cost you a lot in the long run. In the mid-range, the CBR 650R and Versys 1000 both have more problems than their reputation suggests. Let me know in the comments which one surprised you most and subscribe for more.